शुक्लां भरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुर्साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। गुरवे सर्वलोकानां भिषजे भवरोगिणां नितये सर्वविद्यानां श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। श्रुति स्मृति पुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि पादशङ्करं लोकशङ्करम् अपार करुणा सिन्धुं ज्ञानदं शान्तरूपिणं श्रीचन्द्रशेखरेन्द्र गुरुं प्रणमामि मुदान्वहं। सद्गुरुचरणारविन्दाभ्यां नमः। श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। हरिः ओम्। In Viveka Chudamani, the teacher is answering all the Sishya's questions one by one. And now we are at the level of how to get rid of bondage, because he has already explained what is bondage, how does the bondage arise, how is the bondage sustained. Now he has to explain how to get rid of bondage, the most important of all the questions. And we have seen that the Guru has said, Shruti Pramanika Mate Swadharma Nishthatayaivatma Vishuddhirasya Vishuddha Buddhe Paramatma Vedanam Tenaiva Samsara Samula Nashaha. She says the first prerequisite in order to get rid of bondage is Shruti Pramana Ekamatehe, to have Shraddha, to have faith in Shastras, to have faith in what is being told in Vedas. Adi Shankaracharya, in his final work called as Manisha Panchakam, the last shloka that was composed by Adi Shankaracharya is called as Manisha Panchakam. Before he was attaining Mukti in Kanchipuram, the Shishyas asked Adi Shankara for his final teaching. Hey Guru, please give us your final teaching in a nutshell form. And Adi Shankara starts his teaching, and that shloka is called as Sopana Panchakam. Sopana means steps, like staircase, where you go from the lowest level to the highest level. That is called as Sopana. Previously in olden days, we used to play something called as Sopana, Paramapada Sopanam, snake and ladder game, where you go from 1 to 100, in a particular order, right? So that is called as Sopana, ladder or staircase. And the first condition Adi Shankaracharya puts in his Sopana Panchakam or Sadhana Panchakam, the shloka is also called as Sadhana Panchakam, is Vedo Nityamadhiyatam Tadutitam Karmasvanushtiyatam Vedo Nityamadhiyatam. Abhyasa, do Vedabhyasa all the time, be established in Vedic teaching all the time. And the condition number 2 is Tad Uditam Karmasvanushthiyatam. Observe all the do's and don'ts that are told in Vedas, that are prescribed in Vedas, says Adi Shankaracharya. Why this point is again and again and again being stressed is that in the name of modernizing Vedanta, in the name of modernizing Advaitic teaching, people have resorted not to do karma. They quote the same Upanishads, they quote the same Adi Shankaracharya, and they say karma has to be thrown out, karma does not give you moksha. But that same Shankaracharya told, Vedo Nityam Adhiyatam Taduditam Karmas Manushthiyatam. So first do the Vedic karmas, the Vaidhika karmas, follow all the Shastras, follow all the Acharas. Mahapereva also explains in Devatin Kural. Just because we want to study Vedanta, just because we want to study Upanishads and Bhagavad Gita, It is definitely not an excuse to leave your Sandhya Vandanam. It is not definitely an excuse to leave your daily karma. In fact, because you are studying Vedanta, because you are studying Viveka Chudamani, you should do those karmas with even more Shraddha. Says this shloka, Shruti Pramanaikamatehe Swadharmanishta Tayaivatma Vishuddhirasya. When we do that, what happens? You get Atma Vishuddhi, you get Chitta Shuddhi, you get purification of your mind. And only when you have purified mind, Vishuddha Buddhehe Paramatma Vedanam. Only when you have purified mind, you will have Paramatma Vedanam. You will have a glimpse of Paramatma, meaning you will understand your own self as Paramatma. Tenaiva samsara moola nashaha. Samsarasa moola nasaha. That thing, tenaiva, only that will destroy the moola of samsara. So you do karma, you get purity of mind, you go to Jnana Yoga. And what is moksha? Moksha is free from bondage. What is free from bondage? What is moksha? Adi Shankaracharya explains again here in the shloka. Atma anatma vivekaha kartavyaha bandhamuktaye vidusha. The one who discriminates between Atma and Anatma. Atma, the real self. Anatma, all other things which are not self. Atma, Anatma, Vivekaha. The discrimination between Atma and Anatma. Kartavyaha. The one who discriminates between Atma and Anatma. Bandhamuktaye. He alone gets mukti from all the bondage. Mukti means freedom. He alone gets mukti from all the bondage. Tenaiva anandi bhavati. Tena eva anandi bhavati. Only that person. Evakara means avan matrame. Eva. Only that person. Anandi bhavati. He will have uninterrupted ananda, unconditioned ananda. Tenaiva anandi bhavati swam vijnaya satchidanandam. This line is very, very important. Not only the discrimination between Atma and Anatma has to be done, but also the person who discriminates between Atma and Anatma has to own up that Atma Tattva. There are several people who will have clear-cut understanding of what is Atma, the qualities of Atma, what are Anatmas. If you want them to write volumes and volumes and volumes of books, they can write without any problem. But unless they identify with the Atma, they are not a Mukta. This is like having a book. We have several Vedantis. They are called as textbook Vedantis. Adi Shankaracharya is going to speak about them later. They will be having a very high academic knowledge of Vedanta. They will know what is Atma, they will know what is Anatma, they will know Maya, they will know Bhamati, Vivarana, Brahma Sutra Bhashya, all the 108 Upanishads they can chant from memory. But unless one identifies himself with that Atma Swarupam, he is not going to be a Mukta Purusha. This we have to be very, very clear. Number one, we need to have a knowledge of Atma. Number two, Swam Vijnaya Satchidanandam. He need to identify himself as Sat, Chit, Anandam, which means he need to identify himself with that Brahma Tattvam. Only that person, Tenaiva Anandi Bhavati. We are going to see what is Sat, Chit, Anandam, what is Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam. Everything Adi Shankaracharya is going to explain later. Later, there I will tell you what is the real meaning of Sat, Chit and Anantam. But now, know up to that the person who can discriminate between Atma and Anatma, and the person who identifies himself with the Atma Swarupam properly, that person tenaiva anandi bhavati. That person will be ananda always, meaning what? He will be free from bondage. Says Adi Shankaracharya, says the Guru in this shloka. In fact, this is the one who is free from all the bondage, the one who is free from all the shoka, the one who will ever be blissful. That is going to be, that is the theme for all the Prasthanatrayam. You know, if we take Bhagavad Gita, the first shlokam itself, Bhagavan Krishna says, Asocyan Anvashochastvam प्रज्ञावादांश्च भाषसे गतासून् अगतासूंश्च नानुशोचन्ति पंडिताः न अनुशोचन्ति पंडिताः पंडिताः the people who knows, the people who are knowledgeable, na anushochanti, they will not have any shoka. Hey Arjuna, so the shoka nivritti is a main part of mukti, and that is why we all study Viveka Chudamani, because we don't want to have any suffering, we don't want to have any shoka. And in fact, even the last shloka also in Bhagavad Gita, he finishes with Ma Shuchaha. The last shloka that is spoken by Krishna in Bhagavad Gita is Sarvadharman Parityajya Mamekam Sharanam Vraja Aham Tva Sarva Papebhyaha Mokshayishyami Ma Shuchaha. He says, Ma Suchaha, Shuchaha, Shokam, do not get sorrow. He starts Bhagavad Gita with Prajnavadamscha Bhashase, Ashochan Anvashochastvam. Ashochan, Shochan, Na Shokaha. He starts the Bhagavad Gita with the word Ashocha, please do not get sorrow. He ends the Bhagavad Gita with Ma Shuchaha, please do not have sorrow. And the subject matter of Bhagavad Gita is Brahman. So thereby we can deduce that if we know Brahman, we will not have any shoka. And that is the real moksha. People will have lot of misknowledge about alternative facts, as they say, or people have misidentification or misunderstanding about moksha. Some people will think moksha is going to another loka. This is not confined with our Sanatana Dharma or Hinduism. Even in other religion, they will say, what is your ultimate goal? My ultimate goal is going to heaven. I don't want to go to hell. I don't want to remain in this universe. I want to go to heaven. That is, even other religions accept that they want to go to some other loka, and they believe when they go to some other loka, they will be free from all the bondages. They will be free from all the shoka. Moksha is a term that we created, but what is really moksha? Free from sorrow, be always happy, always have that blissful state. Some people will believe that going to heaven will give that moksha state. Even in Sanatana Dharma, Purva Mimamsaka will say going to Swargaloka will give them moksha. Or if we go to Shaiva, if you ask a Shaiva, he will say going to Shivaloka will give them moksha. If you ask a Vaishnava, going to Vaikuntha will give them moksha. If you ask an ISKCON person, they will say going to a Goloka. They have created a separate loka called Goloka, and going to that Goloka will give them moksha. So people will have lot of these theories, but what does Vedanta say? Vedanta says if moksha is an event in time, it's a very interesting concept. It has to be understood properly. Anything that is an event in time eventually will be lost. Anything that happens in time eventually will get lost. I have this body. I acquired this body at a certain time. Eventually, this body is going to be lost. I have a book in front of me. I bought that book at some point of time. At some point of time, either I am going to lose that book or that book is going to degrade itself. That book has been formed at a certain time and that book is going to degrade at a certain time. I am currently living in this house. I acquired this house at some point of time, and I am going to lose this house at certain point of time. So whatever that we gain in time is going to be lost in time as well. Jatasya hi dhruvo mrityuhu dhruvam janma mritasya cha, says Bhagavan Krishna in Bhagavad Gita. Jatasya hi dhruvo mrityuhu. Whatever that is being born, dhruvo mrityuhu. Definitely death is waiting for that thing. Jatasya hi dhruvo mrityuhu dhruvam janma mritasya cha. So whatever that happens as an event in time, it is going to be lost. And if we say moksha is going to another loka after death, that happens at a particular time, and you will be kicked off from that loka after your visa period expires. If you go to Swargaloka, and Kshine Vitte Martyalokam Bhavanti, says Upanishad. If you go to Swargaloka, there is going to be some valid visa time in that Swargaloka. As long as you are in Swargaloka, you might be okay. But after that visa time's over, you are going to be born in this universe. Even Parameshwara, even Parvati, even Mahavishnu, even Mahalakshmi, they all have to come down to earth at certain time. All the avatars are there. Even in Swargaloka, there is going to be commotion. All the asuras are going to attack the Swargaloka. So even in Swargaloka, you are not going to have eternal peace. Even in Kailasa and Vaikunta, eternal peace is not happening. What happens between Subramanya and Vinayaka? Just with a mango fruit, this Narada, this person Narada, has created a commotion in Shivaloka itself. So going to another loka is not an option, because wherever you go, number one, it is not going to be permanent. Number two, there it is going to have its own problem. So that is not real moksha that Shastra speaks about. Okay, what about experiencing another type of mystic pleasure? Experiencing another type of experience. People want different experience. That experience can be physical. Okay, I go to this 3D, I go to 3D theater, 7D theater, 8D theater for some experience, or I want to have mystic experience. Is that moksha? Shastra says that is also not moksha. In fact, gaining new experiences in meditation, Gaudapadacharya is Adi Shankara's Paramaguru. Adi Shankara's guru is called as Govinda Bhagavat Padacharya. Govinda Bhagavat Pada's guru is called as Gaudapadacharya. That Gaudapadacharya has written a commentary on one of the important Upanishads called as Mandukya Upanishad. It is the most important Upanishads in Vedanta, and in that Mandukya Karika, that commentary is called as Karika. In that Mandukya Karika, Gaudapada enumerates what are the obstacles for Vedantic meditation. He enumerates what are the obstacles for Vedantic meditation. You know what he tells? The first obstacle for Vedantic meditation is sleep. That we all can understand. Just when I started doing Ramanama Japa, I will get sleep. Just when I want to do meditation, I woke up. I had very good night sleep in the morning. Even I woke up in the morning, I had coffee. I should be brisk, but I sit for meditation. 5 minutes into meditation, I doze off. So that is the first obstacle for meditation, Nidra. The second obstacle for meditation is Kashaya. Kashaya is all those experiences that are present deep inside our mind. Those things are called as Kashaya. Just when we are sitting for meditation, we will be enumerating the list of things to do for the day. I sit for meditation either to do Ramanama Japa, or I sit for meditation, I want to meditate upon the Viveka Chudamani class that I have learned, the previous Wednesday. Okay. But when I sit for that meditation, I will be enumerating what should I do for the entire day. I will be making holiday plans. Or at some point of time, somebody might have scolded me, and all those things will come up in my mind. All those deep desires, all those deep hurt, all those hurtful experiences, all those happy experiences, all those things will come up in my mind, because my mind becomes calm and I can reimagine, I can relive through all those undesirable experiences. Gaudapada Acharya enumerates that as a second obstacle for Vedantic meditation, called as Kashaya. The third obstacle is called as Rasaswadaha. What is Rasaswadaha? Rasaswadaha is having mystic experiences while doing meditation. Somebody will be meditating, somebody will see a nice white bright light, or somebody will hear a sound. Swami Dayananda Saraswati says, if I am meditating, if I am hearing sound on my meditation, it means either you have not eaten properly or you have overeaten. When you are not eaten properly, your stomach will make noise. If you have overeaten, you will have all those yapam things, etc. Only those two noises are actually happening. All the other noises that you are you are either hearing, or all the other mystic experiences that you are having in the meditation, all those things are mithya, says Vedanta, says Gaudapadacharya in his Mandukya Karika. He calls it as rasaswada. And in fact, proper the traditional Vedantins, traditional gurus, Vedanta guru will in fact will say, do not have those experiences. They will ask the Sishyas to prevent having those experiences. Even if the Sishyas have those experiences, the Guru will not encourage to be, because that experiences will be new to us, and we always want to have, because it will give you pleasure. But again, it is an experience, but real Brahman is the experiencer, and moksha is identifying with that experiencer, not with any experience. So there are several misunderstanding of moksha, but these two are very popular misunderstanding. Moksha is not going to another loka. Moksha is not having any mystic experience. What is moksha? Moksha is knowing oneself as Brahman. First thing, moksha is knowing Brahman. And second step is owning up that type of Brahman. In Kathopanishad, Yamadharma Raja teaches Astibhava. Astibhava means accepting that Brahman exists. And then Tattva Bhava is owning up that Brahma Swarupa. So it is a two-step process, and that is what again and again and again, if you take any famous Upanishad, if you take any famous mantra, only that thing is going to be repeated, because Bhagavan wants us, hey, I am telling you 100 times, at least one time know the meaning and try to achieve that goal. I'm going to give you some famous quotes, and then we will see what happens in Viveka Chudamani. We all know Purusha Suktam. Purusha Suktam says, Tamevam vidwan amrita iha bhavati nanyah pantha ayanaya vidyate tam yevam vidwan amrita iha bhavati. Tam vidwan, that person who knows. Vidwan means knower. Vid, to know. Only from that word vid, the word Vedas came, because Vedas is an embodiment of knowledge. Vedas gives you knowledge. It is called as Vedas. Tam evam vidwan, the one who knows Brahman as oneself, amrita iha bhavati, he becomes amritaha. Amritaha means he does not die. Again, when I say he does not die, it does not refer to his body, because he knows that he is not his body. As Brahman, he gets amrita bhavaha. Tam evam vidwan amrita iha bhavati nanya pantha ayanaya vidyate. Anyaha pantha na vidyate. Anyaha pantha, pantha means path. Anyaha pantha, alternative paths, na vidyate. Any other alternative path for moksha does not exist, says Purusha Sukta. Only path to moksha is tam evam vidwan amrita iha bhavati, knowing oneself as Brahman. Just knowing Brahman is enough. You don't have to gain Brahma because you are Brahman. All you need to know is own up that Brahmanhood. Again, tamevam vidwan amrita iha bhavati nanyah panta vidyate yanaya. Same words, but two words are jumbled. Tamevam vidwan amrita iha bhavati nanyah panta vidyate ayanaya. Na anyaha panta na vidyate. The alternative path is not known, says Purusha Sukta, which we chant daily. And it is for this reason our Shastras, our Rishis have said, chant Purusha Sukta daily. Because Purusha Sukta is one of the best Vedantic text that exists. Purusha Sukta and Sri Rudram, they both are Vedantic texts. Even in Taittiriya Upanishad, which is one of the famous Upanishads, it says, Brahma vida apnoti param tadeshabhyukta satyam jnanam anantam brahma yo veda nihitam guhayam parame vyoman सोष्णुते सर्वान् कामान् सः ब्रह्मणा विपश्चितेदि ब्रह्मवित् आपनोति परम ब्रह्मवित् knower brahmavit the knower of brahman apnoti param he gets the highest thing that is possible which is moksham brahmavit apnoti param yo veda nihitam guhayam parame vyoman Soshnute sarvan kaman saha. He gets all that he wants because as Brahman, he is all he wants. He will not have any desires at all. And that is why he says Brahmavit apnoti param in Taittiriya Upanishad. In Mundaka Upanishad it says Brahma Veda Brahmaiva Bhavati. Brahma Veda. The one who knows Brahman, Brahmaiva Bhavati. He will become Brahman itself. Brahma eva bhavati. Brahma Veda, Brahma eva bhavati. The one who knows Brahman, he does not have to obtain Brahman. All he has to know is know Brahman as oneself. Brahma eva bhavati. He will definitely become Brahman. Tarati shokam, tarati papmanam. Tarati shokam, shokam tarati. Shokam means what? All the sorrows. Tarati, he crosses over all the sorrows. He crosses over all the papams. He will be beyond papam and punyam. He will be beyond shokam, moham, etc. Who? Brahmaveda, Brahmaiva bhavati. The one who knows Brahman, the one who has become Brahman means what? The one who has owned up his Brahmanhood, he will tarati shokam, he will tarati papmanam. Even in Chandogya Upanishad, which is also one of the most important Upanishads, one of the biggest Upanishads, says tarati shokam atmavit. Atmavit shokam tarati. Atma, Brahman, self. Atmavit, the one who knows Atma is called as Atmavit. Shokam tarati. He will cross over all the shoka, says Chandogya Upanishad. And that is called as moksha, that is called as mukti. And if we get that in this life itself, it is called as Jivan Mukti. And that is what we are going to see here in Viveka Chudamani. Acharya says, coming back to Viveka Chudamani, Acharya says, Munjadi Shika Miva Drishya Vargat Pratyanchamatmanam Asangam Akriyam Vivichya Tatra Pravilapya Sarvam Tad Atmana Tishtati Yaha Samuktaha. Yaha, the person who sees. Drishyavargat Pratyancham Atmanam Asangam Akriyam. The one who sees himself to be different from all the experiences. Drishyam means experienced. The one who sees himself to be different from all the things that he experienced. Here we experience the world around us that we know. Nobody has to teach it to us, but we also experience our body. That's why we say, my head is hurting. We experience our body. Not only we experience our body, we experience our mind as well. That is why we know we are happy. That is why we know we are sad. That is why we know we are anger. Happiness, sadness, angriness, they all are the vritti of manas. They all are things that are happening in our mind. Normally, we think externally all the things that we experience, and the body is the experiencer. But later we understand even the body is something which we experience, and we understand our mind to be the experiencer. And later we understand our mind, even our mind is experienced, but only the Atma who does not change. Because if you want to say something changes to something, there has to be something which is constant. Who says, okay, everything around me changes? If only I can say, only if I am constant. We say all the planets go around the sun because sun is constant. We don't say all the planets go around the earth, because even earth is moving, so nothing is possible. So relative to all the planets, since sun is constant, we say all the planets go around the sun. In the same way, because we have a constant experiencer, asangam akriyam, because we have the constant experiencer, we can say, my mind changes. I experiences vritti in my mind. I experience vritti in my intellect. I experience vritti in my body. So that person, yaha munjadi shikamiva drishyavargat pratyancham atmanam asangamakriyam vivichya tatra pravilapya sarvam tad atmana tisthati samuktaha saha muktaha. That person will become mukti. That person will become mukta. That person will be freed from all the bondage. Atmanam tisthati. He will be established in this Brahmanhood, says Adi Shankaracharya. So the answer for this question, how to get rid of bondage, is to discriminate between Atma and Anatma and to own up that Atma. So these two questions are interconnected. We have been seeing how to get rid of bondage, and Acharya said the answer for that question is to discriminate between Atma and Anatma. Because we saw Atmanatmana Vivekah Kartavyaha Bandhamuktaye Vidusha. So now we are going to see how to discriminate between Atma and Anatma. And here Shastra tells a very peculiar thing called as Panchakosha Viveka. We have all seen this Russian doll. How these Russian dolls, these are stackable dolls. It means you can put this small doll into this doll, and this doll can be put into this doll. This doll can be put into this doll, and this doll can be put into the bigger doll. All the smaller dolls can be stacked on to the bigger doll, and in the end you will have one big doll, and inside that big doll you will have smaller and smaller dolls, right? In the same way, Upanishad says, Taittiriya Upanishad splits our body. Taittiriya Upanishad splits our body into 5 dolls called as Annamaya Kosha, Pranamaya Kosha, Manomaya Kosha, Vijnanamaya Kosha, and Anandamaya Kosha. All these things are our body. Previously, we have seen 3 types of body: Sthula Sharira, Sukshma Sharira, Karana Sharira. That is one type of differentiation. Here, Upanishad is describing another type of classification called as Annamaya Kosha, Pranamaya Kosha, Manomaya Kosha, Vijnanamaya Kosha, and Anandamaya Kosha. The grossness decreases with each kosha. Annamaya kosha is that body which is born out of food. Our physical body, our gross body is called as Annamaya kosha. We all initially identify ourselves with Annamaya kosha. Whatever the problems with our body we have, we think that they are our problems. They are not our problems. They are the problems with respect to my body. But we think all the deficiencies of our body to be our own deficiency, and then we get sorrow. If we can fix those things, yes, well and good, we can fix. But unfortunately, most of the things we cannot fix. And unfortunately, most of the people are not happy with what they get. That is why people having straight hair, they want to get their hair curly. People who have the curly hair, they want to straighten their hair. So there is nothing that is constant. If I have this, I want the other one. If I have the other one, I want this. If I am very fair in color, I want to get tanned. So I go sit in the sun. I go UV tanning. I get cancer. Okay, if I'm dark in color, then I should be happy, right? No, no, no. I want to have a fair skin. So I keep all the cosmetic products in my body and I get cancer. So that we get cancer is common in both. But I am not happy with my fair skin. I am not happy with my dark skin. I am not happy with my curly hair. I am not happy with my straight hair. Even if one small teeth is misaligned, I will, people want to find reasons to become shoka because they identify with their Annamaya Kosha. The entire fashion industry, the entire cosmetic industry, the entire plastic surgery industry, they all milk the fact that people identify themselves with their Annamaya Kosha. People identify themselves with their physical body. And Shastra says no. It is only a covering on the Atma. There is something which is beyond Annamaya Kosha, which is even near to you. Say, my Atma is here and Annamaya Kosha is here. Annamaya Kosha is fore moved from my Atma. There is something which is more near to Atma than Annamaya Kosha. What is that? It is called as Pranamaya Kosha. What is Pranamaya Kosha? All the processes that happens within my body. In fact, you can relate Pranamaya Kosha as health. Whatever health that we have, I have sound body. My heart works properly, my kidney works properly. People take so much proud. People take so much pride in the fact that all the systems in their body works properly, and they think, okay, I am not my body, but I am something that makes the body work. Pancha pranas make the body work, because we understand if some person is dead, that body is there, but he does not have any prana. So people will say, no, what is Atma? Atma is not the body. Atma is the prana. Atma is the vital air. Atma is those physiological processes that make the body living, that enlivens the body. So Atma is pranamaya. People will decide, but Shastra says no. Atma is not pranamaya. Okay, some person will say, okay, Atma is neither body nor pranamaya. Atma is the mind that exists within the body. Here, if we see, we are going subtler and subtler with each stage. Atma is manomaya. Atma is made up of mind. Some people will argue. In fact, that is true, because mind is closer to Atma than Annamaya and Pranamaya. So people will think Atma is Manomaya, my capacity to think, my capacity to have emotions with Atma. Okay, as long as we are not hurt. But unfortunately, whatever that happens around us, if 50% of them gives me pleasure, 50% of them is going to give me pain. If 50% of the people who I meet is going to praise me, the remaining 50% of the people who I meet is going to abuse me emotionally. So even when we have our Atma, even when we think our real self as Manomaya, it is not going to work, because even that is going to be abused. And if something is getting abused, we will have shoka. Moksha is tarati shoka. So Manomaya is not our Atma as well. Okay, can it be Vijnanamaya? Vijnanamaya is intellect. Some people will come and say, no, 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 all you guys are emotional idiots. You do not have to be emotional. You should not be emotional. You should be highly intellectual. People will say, but even their intellectual prowess will decrease over time. Even there are Nobel laureates who got Nobel Prize for their intelligence. When they go to 90 or 95, they don't know 2 plus 2 equal to 4. They will get dementia, they will get delusional, they don't know how to differentiate between carbon atom and hydrogen atom. They will say valency of carbon to be 1. All those things happen. We have seen with our eyes in our lifetime. So Manomaya, Vijnanamaya is not even the Atma Swarupam. Okay, then it could be Anandamaya. No, whatever Ananda that we get, it all fleeting, it is not constant. So Anandamaya is also not our Atma Swarupam. Atma is even present inside this Anandamaya. Atma blesses Anandamaya, Anandamaya blesses Vijnanamaya, Vijnanamaya blesses Manomaya, Manomaya blesses Pranamaya, Pranamaya blesses Annamaya. This is like this corporate hierarchy. You have CEO, and under CEO, Vice President of Operations exists. Under CEO blesses the VP of Operation, meaning what? CEO gives some of his powers to VP Operations. VP Operation will bless the financial manager. Finance manager will bless the finance executive. If finance executive signs something, he does not sign a document. He cannot sign a check without the blessing of finance manager. And finance manager cannot bless finance executive by himself. He need to have VP operations blessing, and VP operation cannot bless finance manager from his own power. He need to have blessings of that CEO. In the same way, the CEO is the Atma. Atma blesses Anandamaya. Anandamaya blesses Vijnanamaya. Vijnanamaya blesses Manomaya. Manomaya blesses Annamaya. So the power, the blessings goes from right to left. You have Atman here, blessed by Atman, Manomaya exists. Blessed by Anandamaya exists. Blessed by Anandamaya, Vijnanamaya exists. Blessed by Vijnanamaya, Manomaya exists. Blessed by Manomaya, Pranamaya exists. Blessed by Pranamaya, Annamaya exists. And that is where we have attachment at various levels of gradation. All those things we are going to see in the next class. I would like to finish this class with chanting one portion from Taittiriya Upanishad, which explains all those things. Bhrigurvaivārunihi varunam pitaramupasasara adhihi bhagavo brahmeti tasma etat provacha annam pranam chakshushrotram manovachamiti tagumho vacha yato va imani bhutani jayante yena jatani jivanti yat prayantyabhisamvishanti tadvijijñāsasva तद्ब्रह्मेति सतपोतप्यत सतपस्तप्त्वा अन्नं ब्रह्मेति व्यजानात् अन्नाद्येव खल्विमानि भूतानि जायन्ते अन्नेन जातानि जीवन्ति अन्नं प्रयन्त्यभिसंविशन्तीति तद्विज्ञाय पुनरेव वरुणं पितरमुपससार अधीहि भगवो ब्रह्मेति तगुंहोवाच तपसा ब्रह्म विजिज्ञासस्व तपो ब्रह्मेति सतपोतप्यत सतपस्तप्त्वा प्राणो ब्रह्मेति व्यजानात् प्राणाद्येव खल्विमानि भूतानि जायन्ते प्राणेन जातानि जीवन्ति प्राणं प्रयन्त्यभिसंविशन्तीति तद्विज्ञाय पुनरेव वरुणं पितरमुपससार अदीहि भगवो ब्रह्मेति तगुंहोवाच तपसा ब्रह्म विजिज्ञासस्व तपो ब्रह्मेति सतपोतप्यता सतपस्तप्त्वा मनो ब्रह्मेति व्यजानात् मनसो ह्येव खल्विमानि भूतानि जायन्ते मनसा जातानि जीवन्ति मनः प्रयन्त्यभिसंविशन्तीति तद्विज्ञाय पुनरेव वरुणं पितरमुपससार अधीहि भगवो ब्रह्मेति तगुंहोवाच तपसा ब्रह्म विजिज्ञासस्व तपो ब्रह्मेति सतपोतप्यता सतपस्तप्त्वा विज्ञानं ब्रह्मेति व्यजानात् विज्ञानाध्येव खल्विमानि भूतानि जायन्ते विज्ञानेन जातानि जीवन्ति विज्ञानं प्रयन्त्यभिसंविशन्तीति तद्विज्ञाय पुनरेव वरुणं पितरमुपससार अदीहि भगवो ब्रह्मेति तगुंहोवाच तपसा ब्रह्म विजिज्ञासस्व तपो ब्रह्मेति सतपोतप्यता सतपस्तप्त्वा आनन्दो ब्रह्मेति व्यजानात् आनन्दाध्येव खल्विमानि भूतानि जायन्ते आनन्देन जातानि जीवन्ति आनन्दं प्रयन्त्यभिसंविशन्तीति सैषा भार्गवी वारुणी विद्या परमे व्योमन् प्रतिष्ठिता य एवं वेद प्रतितिष्ठति अन्नवानन्नादो भवति महान् भवति प्रजया पशुभिर्ब्रह्मवर्चसेना महान् कीर्त्या पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ओम शांति 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 श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः हरि ओम।